What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing another scope review. We're going to be doing today's review on the awesome and fairly budget-minded Leupold Mark AR 3x9. It's a 3x9x40 scope, which means it has a 40mm objective lens. It is a 1-inch tube, and it is awesome. There's a lot of pros and cons of this scope. There's a lot of reasons why you would get a 3x9 scope. First off, the 3x9 is probably the most common scope magnification out there, and one of the reasons for that is because of its flexibility. You can, in a pinch, do 3-powered CQB, which means you can kind of use it for home defense. I certainly wouldn't stand in front of a guy with a 3-powered AR or a 3-powered scope on an AR. So you got that base moderately covered. You can shoot anywhere from 50 all the way up to 700 yards, 800 yards if you're good with it. Some people that really specialize in long-range shooting, I'm sure, can push it out well beyond that. So 3x9 really covers a lot of bases. Some other bases that it covers is the 3x9 magnification range, since it's so popular, also inherently is relatively cheap. You can get 3-powered by 9-power scopes anywhere from $100 all the way to $3,000. It really depends on what quality you're looking at. And as far as value goes, this scope retails for about $450. But you can get it for a lot cheaper than that. This is the Fire Dot mil reticled version of it, which I prefer. Some of the versions of the duplex reticle, things like that, are much cheaper. I like a BDC myself because in the stressful situations like hunting, coyote hunting, things like that, I don't really like to spin dials. I like to more Kentucky windage it, and a BDC reticle really helps me out with that. So I prefer that. I also like the Fire Dot reticle. Some of the pros to the Fire Dot reticle are that if it runs out of batteries, you have just a regular reticle. Nothing terrible happens. The regular reticle is etched in there. Also, you have the ability to shoot in low light and night. And the green, for some reason, the green Fire Dot in this scope actually is more visible than the red Fire Dot in my Leupold VX6. Now this scope is about twice as much as that, and for some reason you can see that better. So you can actually use the green in daylight, probably not bright sunlight in the middle of the desert, but you can see it fairly well. The way you operate that illumination is you just press this button right here and it depresses, and then I'll show you some footage of what the reticle looks like. Then when you're done with it, you just hold it and shut it off. If you'd like to adjust it, you just keep pressing it and it either gets brighter or lower. Now, as I said, this would be a great plinking scope. It would be a great hunting scope, probably my preferred magnification range for a hunting scope, if not the 1:6. It really depends on what you're hunting. If you're hunting antelope at 400 yards, you want this. If you're hunting deer at 150, 200 yards, maybe you want this. You have to, with everything, you have to decide what you're going to use it for first, and then decide what's best in that category. Even though a 1:6 and a 3x9, they're really good do-all optics, there are some things that this does better, some things that that does better, something that red dots do better. So you have to consider what you're going to use it for first, and then I can tell you what's best in that category. This scope is also backed by Leupold's great lifetime warranty. And that's really important because I've honestly only owned a couple scope brands that haven't broke on me, at least a little bit, and one of those brands does not include Leupold. If anybody is a subscriber to me or watches my videos will know that I did a review on this scope a couple of months ago, and the illumination wasn't working properly. So I sent it in to Leupold, they fixed it, and it works perfectly, and they sent it back to me for free. So for me, that's a big plus. That guarantee and that awesome customer service is a big win. A lot of things that people don't take in consideration when they're buying an optic. This optic has 2nd gen argon waterproofing. I honestly did not test it underwater, but I did shoot it in the rain and it performed fairly well. It does fog when you're taking it, let's say, from the air conditioning out into a hot day or vice versa, but I haven't seen a whole lot of optics that don't do that. You can also use a little Dawn or something like that, or a little defogger, and that will decrease that, but you're still going to have a little bit of fogging. It has 0.1 or 1 in 10 mil adjustments on top of the turrets there. That's kind of nice and fairly precise. For me, the adjustments don't matter to me that much, because for the most part I do just zero it and then use the BDC as I said, but I have been known to spin some dials, and for me these dials are relatively cheap. This is kind of a downside to the scope if we talk about the turrets or dials or however you want to say. They do have reset to 0, but they also are not capped, and they are very loose, and they are tactile. You can hear them, but as you see, they have issues coming loose. If you hit them, they do throw off your 0 relatively easy. So if for cheap turrets, I would prefer they were capped. More expensive turrets, like let's say 4 to 16 power scope, something like that, not having them capped is okay because you're going to be turning them all the time to shoot long distance. It also has, I don't know if you guys can see that fairly well, but it does have 556 BDC on the dial. So depending on what range you're shooting, you can turn that back and forth, and that'll help you out if you're shooting 55 grain. I think you can send it back in a Leupold and have it switched to whatever grain of bullet you use also. As I said before, it has a 1-inch tube. For me, I prefer 30mm. I like a little bit wider tube for durability and a little bit more light transmission. I know that's kind of a hot topic there. I just prefer the 30mm. If I can have it, why not have it? This is a second focal plane scope. That matters to some people, but for me, it doesn't really matter that much. The only difference is that if you're going to range targets with the reticle, you're going to have to range them on full power. Now that's not the only difference, but that's the only difference that really matters to me. So for me, second, first focal plane doesn't matter as much as something like weight or price or durability. Now in the weight, the weight of the scope is amazing, and that's one of the reasons why I actually purchased this scope, other than the price and the quality Leupold name and the reticle and all the other features that I'm talking about. But the weight is amazing. I think it is 12.1 ounces. That's pretty incredible for a 3x9 scope, especially for a quality scope from Leupold. Add this Aero Precision mount, this super lightweight mount that's only 3 ounces, I believe. You have a little under a pound for a total package that can get you out to about 700 yards. Very impressive. At 100 yards, you're looking at about 33 feet at 3 power of field of view and 14 feet at full power, I believe. With eye relief, the eye relief is also really impressive. I didn't have any issues at all with that. It's about 4.3 inches, somewhere between 4.3 and 3.6, depending on what magnification that you're on. Speaking of magnification, the magnification tab is right here, the dial, whatever you want to call it. And it's not the easiest I've ever turned, but it's certainly not the most difficult either. As you can see there, it moves fairly easy and fairly quickly between 3 and 9. So it's definitely good enough for me. Another thing that it's got going there, as you can see, it's got the focus ring there and the dial on the other side. You can see some cuts in there, even though it's got Leupold's coating on it. The scope coating is not super durable. If you bang it on something, you will get witness marks on it. So watch out for that. If you're big into that, I honestly don't care. Alright, so my overall opinion of this scope is it is excellent for its price point. You get Leupold's warranty, it's lifetime warranty, which is pretty awesome. You get the name on the side of your scope, so you look cool when you're shooting at the range. You get a 3x9 magnification. You get a relatively clear sight picture. I forgot to talk about that. It is not quite as clear as, let's say, like the VX6 line or the Trijicon AccuPoint or AccuPower lines, but it's pretty close. And if you think about the fact that it's about half the price, that's not so bad. It's relatively durable. I beat the crap on my stuff, and I have yet to break it, except for the turrets. The turrets aren't as durable as I would like. But other than that, it's a pretty impressive scope for the money. I would definitely buy it again, especially if I was in the market for a scope of this type. So I would have to say I give it at least out of 9 out of 10, and give it a 10 out of 10 if it had better turrets. Alright, this is the Honest Outlaw. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you have anything that I forgot, I don't do a lot of scope reviews, so please leave them in the comments below, so if other people have questions, they can see it. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. Check you later.